Hey everybody, David Brody here in the CBN Newsroom. Look, this could not have worked out any worse for the Trump administration. First of all, they're in court, of course, over this executive order. Beyond that, they had to go to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It has been called the Nutty Ninth before. They've had quite a few, well, shall we call them liberal, some would say progressive, very progressive rulings out there in San Francisco land. That's where they're based. As a matter of fact, the Brody File crew, boy, we're everywhere. We actually traveled there, I'd rather not say, call it roughly 10 years ago. That was probably about 15 pounds ago, if you know what I'm saying. Anyhow, we were in San Francisco. We talked to a few of those liberal justices. One of them actually saying that there is indeed political activism on that court in the Ninth Circuit. Have a look at our story, a little snippet from that story years ago. Welcome to the Ninth Circuit, the largest appeals court in the country. The hallways are regal, the courtrooms are stunning. Critics say some decisions are stunning too. The Pledge of Allegiance was ruled unconstitutional. A ban on assisted suicide was also thrown out. Death penalty sentences heard here are frequently overturned. Decisions here affect nearly 60 million people in 9 western states. Maybe it's appropriate that the Ninth Circuit's main headquarters are based here in San Francisco, one of the nation's most liberal cities. We've come here because CBN News has been granted unique access, a chance to sit down one-on-one with some of the judges from the Ninth Circuit. Judge Clifford Wallace was appointed by President Nixon. He's considered a judge that values judicial restraint.
Do you believe there is some judicial activism on this court?
Yes, I think there is. I don't think they feel there are activists, but in my view, I think there is some activism.
Fact is, the Ninth Circuit has been the most reversed appeals court in the nation. In 1996, the Supreme Court reversed 20 of their 21 decisions. But that's not the whole story. Judge Carlos Bea, a George W. Bush appointee, sits on the Ninth Circuit.
There are some opinions which the political pundits have styled as being liberal opinions. But if you take a look at those, I think you'll see that those have decreased over the last few years.
It's David Brody reporting. Thank you. No, just kidding. Hey, look, bottom line is Trump and the administration have to figure out what they're going to do next. Obviously, it's a very fluid situation. If you take it to the Supreme Court, that may not be the route to go. Why? Have you looked lately? 9, that's right, not 9 Supreme Court justices. In other words, there's just 8. That probably means a 4-4 split. And if it's a 4-4 split at the Supreme Court, bad news for the Trump administration. It now would go back at that point to the Ninth Circuit. They ruled against the Trump administration. And so what do? They may have to rework this executive order somehow, some way, get it more narrow, get it more tight. And at that point, move on from there. But remember, the legality of this executive order actually has not been ruled on, just the fact that it should be restrained for now as it relates to the so-called travel ban. Anyhow, that's the situation from here. David Brody here in the CBN Newsroom.